What's up, guys? We got Clear Outside, episode 7. It's been a couple weeks, and I apologize for, kind of the tardiness. I just life gets busy sometimes, and with school letting out and all kinds of other stuff going on at the end of the year with kids' functions and stuff like that, I just haven't had time. But at any rate, here we are, episode 7. And I wanted to talk today about kind of the hierarchy of collecting, and what I mean by that is your order of operations or your order of priorities in your collection. And I kind of think about what I collect and why I collect it, and I kind of look back at when I first got back into collecting versus what I collect now. It's evolved, right? Like, you kind of, your collection is sometimes always changing a little bit, or maybe you change your strategy a little bit as far as what you collect or how you go about collecting it, or the timing, or maybe, where you're looking for cards, all that. So, it's always constantly changing, right? But just kind of as a breaker, I see a lot of cards, obviously, and hear a lot of comments from people about things like, well, I'd rather have a really nice relic over a really. Some people have said I'd rather have a nice relic over a sticker auto. Some people are really down on sticker autographs. If it's not an on-card autograph, some people are just, not interested, and that's totally fine. When it comes to things like printing plates, as a one-on-one compared to other cards, some people are really low on those compared to others. So just wanted to kind of dive into all that a little bit. And I grabbed 3 cards. These are 3 cards from the mail sale. They're consignment cards, but they're all good examples. And I'll just show you quickly what I'm talking about. We've got a Pinnacle Brett Holmes, probably a little bit of a glare going, but Pinnacle Brett Holmes, and it is a sticker auto. And then kind of to change it up, you've got this Regan Smith Select patch auto. It's a gold, so obviously it's going to be a little bit sharper, but this is an on-card auto. And of course, Regan's got a really nice signature, so it's going to make it look a little nicer anyway. But, certainly a difference just from the physical size of an autograph when you've got a sticker. I don't know if I can do that. Yeah, there we go. When you've got a sticker versus non-sticker. Of course, it's going to have to do with the driver and all that. And then you've got things like these that are just regular relics. Of course, this is a really nice relic from National Treasures a few years back. And it's a pretty short print. But still, just, something to kind of think about. Just trying to give examples of what I'm talking about. So, my hierarchy is, you can see, people always ask me where I sort cards. That's where I do it, back there. My wife used to work down here, and when she changed jobs, I inherited her desk, and so that's where I sort cards now. I used to do it right here on this little tiny table. So I have moved up in the world in that regards. But anyway, so my hierarchy, at least for me personally, is, and like I said, this has changed over the years. It used to be, when I first got into collecting again, was if it was a card I didn't have of the driver or player, because I do collect other sport, I collect football cards, primarily Ohio State. But if it was a card I didn't have, then I wanted it, and as time has gone on and the collection has grown and things have evolved, and I realize, space is at a premium, at least for me, I have to kind of balance, okay, well, what cards do I want to collect and what cards do I want to use up my storage space for? And so my collection specifically has evolved from any and everything that I didn't have to now. I try to really be very particular. If it's not something that's numbered probably out of 25 or less of a driver I collect, it's probably not something I'm keeping. Of the things that I don't keep, I have kind of two different tiers, okay? Two different bins or buckets or boxes, if you will, that I put stuff in. I have one that's the send it to the mail sale, list it for sale, just sell it box. And then I have another box that is my it's my sell it when you get around to it box. And so it's got a lot of PC cards in it that aren't part of what I consider my PC anymore. And they're in this box down here, but they're not really going anywhere anytime soon. Now, granted, if somebody saw one or knew I had something and messaged me, I had somebody the other day that reached out and asked for, somebody asked me for a couple of Dale Jr. relics. And I said, well, I've probably got a couple, and so I went through that box, and sure enough, I had two that they needed. And so I sold those. That's, if somebody needs something out of that box, by all means, I'm not going to hold them. But that's more of, and you guys know what I'm talking about. That box is more of the, well, I'll sell them or trade them when I get around to it. And that might be a while kind of box. So, I don't know why I do it that way, but that's the way I've done it. But at any rate, so my hierarchy now, though, is if it's not numbered out of 25 or less, probably not a keeper. I really don't mess with colored parallels like Prism. If it's not numbered, not keeping it. The only exception to that rule is the zebra print prisms of my PC drivers, just because I think they're cool. So, of course, your collection, your rules, you can always have exceptions to every rule, and you can make those rules up as you go, right? So, yeah, that's one of my exceptions to the rule is the zebra prints, just because I think they're really, really cool. So I have a couple zebra prints. Like I've got a Christopher Bell. I think maybe a Ryan Blaney. I can't remember. I think I might even have a Tony Stewart zebra print. But anyway, so, that's one exception to that numbered rule. But beyond that, I really don't mess with non-numbered stuff. Case hits. Like I've got a couple of Prism mangas, but I've moved them into that I'll get around to selling it box. Case hits for me are weird in that because they're not numbered, if you're going to sell it to somebody, you have to sell it to somebody who also knows what they're buying. And so I'd rather sell or trade something like that when I know I'm dealing with somebody that knows what they're getting, rather than hold it for a long time and then think, gosh, I hope somebody that comes along that wants to buy this knows what it is, kind of thing. So anyway, I don't really mess with those in my PC anymore. And that might rub some people the wrong way. I don't know, but that's my reason for it. And then when it like what we started with, when it comes to autographs, relics, those types of things, when I first got back into collecting, I was really, really big into the relics. I loved the race used relics, particularly the fire suit and sheet metal. And then when you see some of the older cards that I get like on consignment for the mail sales, like some of the Jeff Gordon stuff that I've got that's like race used flags and race used car cover. Those are really cool. But anyway, when I first got back into it, I was really big into the relics and had a lot of relics. And kind of the same thing as time has gone on, I've realized my true passion and my true interest is in the autographs. And I think kind of the same thing, someday down the road, if you were to sell it, it's much easier to sell an autograph to somebody than a relic, in my opinion. I think you're going to have more buyers down the road, and it's a little bit more acknowledged for what it is, I guess. An autograph of a celebrity in general is going to be probably more widely known than a piece of, whatever from them. Say it's a singer and they gave you a scarf off stage. Well, if you're going to try to sell the scarf that they handed you when they came off the stage, or sell the autograph, both are very cool, but the autograph will probably be easier to get rid of someday down the road. So, and I don't say all this as I intend to sell my PC. I don't. But it is always in the back of my mind, that, hey, in the event of a catastrophe, lose your job, get hurt, something, you do have a collection that could be sold if needed. So that's why I always think like that. So don't twist up what I'm saying, that I'm like planning to sell everything. But I always try to think forward like that. And that's not for everybody. Some people, that's not, a concern of theirs or whatever. So, but, in my collection, I certainly will prefer an on-card autograph. But I really don't care if it's a sticker or not, to be quite honest. If it's a card that I like and it looks cool, I don't care if it's a sticker or non-sticker. If it's a card I like and it's a card I want, I'm going after it regardless, sticker or not. So, in my hierarchy, the autograph is always going to be at the top of the list. And if I can get on card, great. If I can't, that's okay too. It's not going to make or break me. And relics, for the most part, I have really gotten away from relics almost completely. I have, obviously, 101s and some really, really short print relics, out of 5, maybe some out of 10. I don't think I have anything numbered higher than 20 in my collection anymore that's a relic. Now, I say that, I still have a bunch in that box that's the, I'll get around to it one day box. So it's, whatever, however you want to look at that, I still have them, but I don't consider them part of my PC anymore at this point. So I don't actively buy relics, put it that way. Like for Kyle Larson, for example, I'm not actively searching for a relic that's numbered to 49 or 99 or whatever. So and I've reached the point now, because space is such an issue for me as far as storage, because we don't live in a large house. And we have 2 kids and 2 dogs. And so there's not a lot of places to store cards safely, A, and B, where the kids or the dogs aren't going to mess with them. So I don't have a lot of space to store stuff. So my PC is probably smaller than what maybe some might imagine it is. And it's certainly smaller than what a lot of people I know. I mean, I know people with thousands and thousands of cards, and that's just not me. It's not my good for you. If you're one of those folks and you got the room to do it, great. That is wonderful. Enjoy it. Keep on keeping on. I just can't do it, in my current situation. If we moved, had a bigger house, I had more space, sure, I'd probably, let it evolve more, but I just can't do it. So, but drivers that I collect, I really look for those cards that are either 101s or really, really short prints. The kind of key pieces, like, for example, Christopher Bell. I really like his 2020 National Treasures RPAs. I've got, a handful of those. So stuff like that I just really have an affinity for. Um, and then, and like I said, 101s, patches. I like printing plates. I have quite a few printing plates in my collection. I've heard, and I've talked to some card shop owners, like the one LCS that's near me. I've talked to one of the owners of the card shop, and he told me, straight up, he said, I'll take a nice relic over a printing plate any day. And that just blew me out of the water, because a printing plate is a 101. Now, granted, in a lot of cases, there's 2, 3, or 4 printing plates, and they're all 101s because of the different coloring. But still, I look at the printing plate as a really unique, really cool card, because that plate, was physically what was used to make all the others. So, in my eyes, all the other cards touched that one. That 101, touched all the others. And it was responsible for all the others. So in my eyes, it makes it really cool. But I see why some people don't like them, and I get their argument. And, it, just like anything in the hobby, it's okay to have your own style and your own tastes, and that's what makes us all unique with what we collect. Is because I do it one way and somebody else does it another way doesn't mean either one of us are wrong. We have our own ways, and there's plenty of cards to go around for both of us. And because one of us prefers one thing over the other, it just gives us the opportunity to maybe trade or work things out to benefit both of us. So, but yeah, I have plenty of printing plates in my collection. I have no issue with them. If one comes up of a driver or like an Ohio State player, and I can buy it, I certainly will. I see no issues with them, especially the printing plates that are like autographs or patch autographs. That's like a really big bonus to me. So, but anyway, like I said, just wanted to kind of talk about the hierarchy of collecting, why we collect what we collect. I've said this many times in the break group on Facebook. The drivers that I collect are all drivers who are either directly or maybe semi-directly involved with dirt racing in some way. And that's because I grew up at the dirt track. My dad took me to dirt races from the time I was 5 years old all the way up until, 2 nights before he passed away. So, dirt racing is embedded in me. And so the drivers that I collect are dirt guys. And the only exception to that is Denny Hamlin. And Denny Hamlin happens to be the guy that my wife likes. My father-in-law also happens to work for FedEx and has been with FedEx for years and years. And even though my father-in-law is not really a Denny Hamlin fan, I think that's part of why maybe my wife started rooting for him years ago. So he's really the only exception to the dirt rule. All the other guys in my collection are dirt guys in one way or another. Some people are a little more obvious than others. And just like I explained in our break group the other night, I was talking about Ryan Blaney, and somebody, when I mentioned that Ryan Blaney's family owns a dirt track in Ohio, somebody said, "What? I didn't know that." So that's what I mean. Ryan Blaney's really not a dirt racer as far as himself, but his dad was a hell of a dirt racer. And his family owns Sharon Speedway, which is one of the better known tracks in Ohio. So, even though Ryan isn't known for his dirt racing, he is indirectly a dirt guy. It's in his DNA. So, anyway, so that's why I collect who I collect, because they're dirt guys. And then Ohio State, when it comes to football cards specifically, because that's really the only other thing that I really collect. I collect Ohio State uniform cards. So it's an Ohio State player in the Ohio State uniform. If they're in their pro uniform, I probably have no interest in it. It's just because that's just my style. My wife is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so we do collect some Steelers stuff, but it tends to be players that were lifelong Steelers, like Hines Ward, Cameron Hayward, Ben Roethlisberger, players like that. And I am a Browns fan. The Browns can't seem to keep any good players for more than a year or two, other than maybe Nick Chubb. So Chubb's really the only guy I collect for the Browns at the moment. But if it's a cool Browns card, it might be something I'm interested in. But otherwise, it's basically Nick Chubb or bust for the Browns. But aside from my NASCAR stuff, Ohio State football is really the main thing. And that's where my other true kind of passion and enjoyment is Ohio State football. So, and again, there's a hierarchy with that, just like NASCAR, same deals apply. I've had to kind of transition what I like and don't like and evolve over time, just like with NASCAR, with the football stuff. So, and with football, it's funny. We don't deal with this in racing nearly as much because you like who you like as far as a driver, and you tend to, if your driver changes teams, you tend to just stick with your driver more often than not. But with football, it's funny, like my wife had quite a few Steelers cards of players like Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, some others. That she enjoyed watching, and we had some really cool cards of them, and then lo and behold, they end up on new teams. They either got traded or signed with somebody else, and so then you're kind of like, well, what do we do with these? So we went through that phase of, she was like, no, I don't want to collect them if they're not Steelers. She's like, nothing against them, but they're no longer a Steeler. I don't like, that's not what I want. So anyway, it's just funny how, your collection evolves, and there's ups and downs, and there's, it's always changing. There's people I talk to, and I see other people in the community and in the hobby, and I see people that, might spend 6 months really aggressively buying stuff, looking for stuff, and then it might seem like 6 months of that same person might not be buying anything, might not be active. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. Money obviously is probably the main reason for a lot of that for most of us. We all have a budget, right? And we got to stay within that budget. So, yeah, it's just interesting to think about, why we collect what we collect. Obviously the on-card autos, if you can get it, the nice thing, at least in my opinion, with an on-card auto is it gives the person that signed that autograph the chance to sign it the way they wanted to sign it. A lot of people will tell me, well, I don't like the sticker autos because they didn't have the card in their hand. Well, personally, I don't care if they held the card in their hand or not. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me. I want to see how nice they can sign that card. And that's the difference, especially if you look at like Richard Petty, for example. Richard Petty has one of the most beautiful autographs in all of sports. And when he can sign an on-card autograph, or if you've seen him sign photographs or something else, his signature is so big and so like flowing. And he uses as much room as he can. But when he has to sign a sticker autograph, it's still beautiful, but it's really small, really condensed. And you can tell, I just feel like if you could ask him which one he prefers, he'd probably say, I want to sign the thing where I can do it the way I want to do it. So, that's really where the difference lands for me is just the look of it. But the sticker itself doesn't bother me personally. But that doesn't mean that it's, that's the way it should work for everybody else. Like I said, we all have our own way. We all have our own likes, our own dislikes. And that's what makes the collecting hobby unique. And, so, again, if I collect printing plates because I think printing plates are cool, and somebody else thinks printing plates are are not very cool, well, then that gives us a chance to work together, right? That gives me a chance to trade something to that person and vice versa, because that person's got something I want, and they've got something that they don't want. So maybe we can work it out. You know what I mean? So I don't I'm not quick to judge people on what they like and don't like and what they collect and how they collect it. And don't expect, hopefully nobody judges me on how I do it either. But if you're different, if guy A, B, C, and D are all different in how they do it, then it just gives you more opportunity to work together for each of you to get to your goals, right? So, well, and whatever goal that is, I don't have a goal in mind, so there is no end game, right? Like there is no, it's you continue to build the collection, you continue to upgrade. And just like me talking about my box of sell right away and my box of I'll sell it when I get to it, it seems like these days I take cards out of the PC and put them into the I'll sell it when I get to it box and add new stuff to the PC, and that's just where they sit for the time being. So eventually we're going to have a sale of Mike's sell it when I get to it stuff, but or do something crazy with them, but because there's some good stuff there. But at any rate, that's how I do it. I'm sure some people will find some humor in that, and I'm sure there's some people that can relate to that as well. I'm sure I'm not the only one. It's funny how you think you're the only one that's doing something a certain way, and the more you talk to people, you find out, oh no, everybody's been there and done that, or experienced it, or has tried it, or whatever. So anyways, but it's nice to think about, your collection, how you have evolved your collection, and then kind of think about other people and how they do it. I don't know. I kind of get interested in just, diving into what other people think, and, why they do the way do it the way they do it, and so on. So this one got pretty long-winded compared to some of our other podcasts. So, but it's been, like I said, about 3 weeks. So I guess we owed a little overtime for this one. So appreciate everybody listening. Certainly leave comments if you've got any input, and we'll try to get the next one out next week as well. And until then, we'll see y'all next time.